My people, what up, though? We back with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief.
And I'm Bell.
My name is Prentice.
And let's get the show on the road, fellas. What's happening? I appreciate us and our consistency, you know what I'm saying? We didn't record on a normal day, but we right back at it. Salute to y'all. Salute to the people still rocking with us and all that. Email starting to roll back in since we took our little hiatus, so we appreciate y'all. Fellas, what it is, what it was, what it does, cuz check in. Go ahead. What's up with you?
Good, man. A lot of good stuff going on for me. Work is busy, but good busy. I'm grounded from travel until the end of, well, not the end, but like the middle of April. Be shooting out to Vancouver for the first time, so I'm looking forward to that. Life's good, man. I think the ball's just rolling my way. Like I got no complaints, man. Like family's good. Lorraine just left to Amsterdam tonight on a girls' trip, so that's cool. She's hopped on the LinkedIn wave, and as she built her business on Instagram, and since South by Southwest, she's just been getting a lot of traction. So a lot of opportunities are coming to her due to the work that she's been putting in. So I'm happy for that. Got some adult decisions to make, man. I'm getting mini splits installed, bro. Like the range of price quotes is crazy. Like crazy. Like
you said mini splits?
Yeah, you've probably seen them before, Prentice, whether you knew the name of them or not, but they're AC units that go on the wall. They're like it's another version of central air.
Okay.
So they do heat and they do AC. So it's cool because you can control the temperature per room. Whereas central air, if it's not zoned, it just covers the whole house. Where mini splits, you can change the temperature per room. But Massachusetts has this ill program where if you convert your whole house to mini splits, they give you a $10,000 rebate back cash. So but based on these quotes, that ain't putting the dent in nothing. Like I'm like, yo, y'all think I sell dope. That's what y'all think I sell dope. That's why I'm getting these quotes. But I did get a reasonable quote, and but it's just crazy, man. It's good to know people, but like it speaks to that. Well, basically our theme that we've been talking about in terms of energy and I think the word you use sometimes, Prentice, is vibration. Like it just speaks to that. Shout out to my man Rob Nichols. He's a teammate of mine. Was a teammate of mine. Now he's shout out to Rob, man. He's the largest black lender in Boston. So shout out to my man. He's a builder. He got 40 projects under his belt. He's just a good dude to know. And he put me on. He gave me a contact. Contact held me down, gave me the best quote I got. And my system, I was having some issues with. He came and banged that out too. So, like just life stuff, man. But everything is good. Just got a lot of money coming out. We about, I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I bought an investment property. Me and my man a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago now. So that's moving right along. It was a hoarder house though, bro. It took 4 dumpsters to clean that place out. Like, yeah, it was crazy, but it's gonna be dope. Like once we put the pictures up before and after, it's going to be a complete transformation.
That's the Norwich joint, Bell?
New London, yeah.
New London. Okay.
Yeah, so we got the 2 families in Norwich, but yeah, Uncle Lem came out there, blessed me with a quote. I got to get some stuff done, and the team is moving, man. This thing is going the way it's supposed to go. So it's good working with like-minded folks that it's just like it's almost like certain things don't need to be said, they just get done, so that's cool. It's refreshing. My man that I bought it with, my man Razul, this motherfucker got like 17 18 properties, something crazy like that, but he still got the bandwidth, so salute to him. But yeah, just a lot of good stuff going on. Busy, man, just real busy. Like I said, the wife is gone, so it's just gonna be me and Chase until Sunday. So just rocking out, man. That's it. That's my check in.
P, what's happening?
Yo,
Check in with us, B. How you living? How you feeling?
good man. Progress to hear got accepted into his top three high schools he wanted to go to
Oh,
school. So it's been a trip, man. This eighth grade year for him, he totally flipped on a light switch and flipped on a light switch. He's never been a bad student, always a great student, but his commitment to successfully getting accepted to where he wanted to go to school, it was night and day. It was like he just flipped the switch. He wanted something, and you saw his effort in class. You saw his follow up. Like it was just like I don't know who you are, but this new you, I'm about to rock with and support the hell out of it. Because if this is how you are with school, this is like making me feel hella good about how you gonna prioritize life. So he got
That's
accepted, man, to all three schools, bro. And he got the word the other day about his number one school, which is the absolute furthest, of course, from me and his mom's home. And when I say far, man, I mean far. So
like
um,
far, like miles wise, or far like duration in terms of traffic, how long it takes to get
both,
there. Oh,
both,
yeah.
both. It is further than Oakland. It's closer to Berkeley, which is further out. But where it is the heart of traffic in the Bay,
Mm.
essentially, man. It's in a city called Albany. So I was trying to get him to go to school. We got one of the top school districts, public school. It's a private school that he got accepted into. It's a public school district out here. It's like number three in the state, like where I live. You know, they got a multi-million dollar school they just built 2 blocks down the street. You know what I'm saying? But um, it was an interesting thing, man, because I had to really kind of like check myself. And my thing is like convenience, right? Like this don't work for me. You know what I'm saying? Like it does not work for me. It doesn't for real. But I couldn't approach it that way because I mean this cat put in the work. His mom has been very, reasonable with her explanations on why to support, and so that's where he's gonna go to school. And so I had to kind of suck in my damn, I don't know how I'm gonna what because that's where I'm going on the mag, like how I'm gonna get there and get here in time and drop them off and drop the girls off and like all that shit. But it may require a schedule change. As far as like when he's with me during the week, which is something that's never happened, but I'm open to. And me and his mom had a really good conversation about it, just around supporting him and seeing where it goes, man. So shout out to Tahir because he earned it, and he's happy as hell. He's happy as hell. About his friends got accepted there, so it's just looking good for him, man. So I'm really proud of him, happy for him, man. I got to make some adjustments, but hey, um, I'm realizing now, like I'm in a space where I'm having these experiences where blessings are coming in, circumstances, I find environments I find myself in, and I'm starting to like normalize them now. You know what I mean? Like him, rather than me stressing over how I'm gonna figure out what's going on with him, it's like, okay, now I'm in a position where I can figure out a way to make it work rather than, beat myself up and worry about what I'm gonna do. It's kind of like my train of thought on how I attack and approach things are different. And I find us in like in different environments now, man. We've been having especially me and Siraj is getting to do a lot of dope stuff, man, that a couple years ago in life wasn't able to do, that requires a little bit of success and who and like I'm in environments where I'm like, you know what, like this is totally obtainable, like this is totally possible, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm just happy to be here moment anymore, and so we got a lot of experiences
I
coming up.
saw you. I saw you one row removed from courtside. I peeped.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's dope. Shout out to my man D, my man Devlin. The courtside experience is amazing, becoming more frequent. That was one of the moments. We were sitting there and we was like, I get it. I get why courtside seats cost so much, but I get the experience. It's a whole different experience. Well, like you listen, you, it's a whole different experience. And so we were sitting there during the game and we are just like, yo, this is built-in date night 40 something days out of like an 8 month time period. You know what I'm saying? So we're having discussions about doing things that can be obtainable. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see myself doing that before. 2 years ago, I didn't see that, but now getting in these environments, you know, that's a good example. It's changing how I think and how I'm viewing like my reality and my future. You know, like, you here for a reason. You have these experiences. You know these people. You have people who have great energy, who want to help you succeed, who want to expose you to different kind of things. You got to figure out how you create these moments for yourself on a consistent basis. And so now that I'm out of the survival's remorse, now I'm out of the what am I going to do next month? You know, it's my train of thought is future based. You know, and that's I like it, bud. Like, I like this shit, man. I like my check in not being like, you know what I'm saying, some off the wall shit that's very honest and real, but at the same time, I need some fucking help with. I don't really need no help, bud. So we're moving, man. Sarai's birthday is next week, so we about to dip
That's
out
what's
to
up.
Arizona. Take her to Arizona for like 4 days. We love it out there. Kick it with her cousin, see a couple of friends, man. Shy about to be 4 on the 20th, bud. She about to be 4, bud. 4.
Damn, so her and Chase are really like 1 year apart. His birthday the
Mhm.
29th.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I probably say this every time you say that, but
yeah. No, they right there. Naya, what? She turned 12 at the end of February. So everybody's getting older. Everybody's cool, man. I'm straight. I'm back in the classroom teaching. So I'm
when did you stop?
oh, but I ain't been in the classroom doing any type of teaching for like 3 years probably.
Oh, yo.
You
So
think
this,
of Pilates?
yes.
Yeah. Nah, I
Yes.
mean like classroom, like working with the
Yeah.
kids, creative writing
Yeah.
courses. So I'm back in Oakland 2 to 3 days a week. I got an opportunity, bud, and they extended it because of the work I was doing. And it's something I was kind of running from. But you kind of need that energy, you know. Like, I hopped on the train of the career and kind of left the kids behind, but I got back in there, man. I still love it. So I'm gonna stick with that, man.
That's
Man,
what's up, man.
one thing I can say, Prentice, that is whether this is true or not, it's evident to me. It appears to be evident to me that you just are more intentional right now.
The word was deliberate. That's the word I used when we was sitting at the game, but she was
Yeah,
like, you know
same
what?
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, she was like, you know, we just got to be deliberate, more deliberate. That was the word. And ever
that's
since you said that, it's funny you say that. It's conscious, and yeah, I'm very intentional now.
and it's like we can't afford not to be, bro. Like that's the part. Like that's the part that and hey, we all get there at different times in our lives and whatever, but we really can't afford not to be intentional. You know what I'm saying? Like we're about to approach some of the best years of our lives, right? If we're intentional, right? If we're
Yeah.
intentional and we do things the right way, and we can take advantage of a lot of things. Because shout out to my man PC a while ago, we had a conversation, and he's like, "Yeah, man, like when you turn 40, he's like, that's when life starts." He's like, you should be in a better position mentally, right? You should have learned a lot, should have made some money, right? And as important, if not more important, the friends around you are doing things in life, right? That you can
Hmm.
leverage, you can lean on. You know what I'm saying? Like no one is just broke in 22 anymore, right? We're all
Hmm.
moving in our respective directions and we can help each other. You know what I'm saying? Like you can leverage those resources. So, but you got to be intentional. You know what I'm saying? Like, and depending where this conversation goes, I'll get into a story. But yeah, so I love that. I love that for you, bro.
Yeah, thank you,
Man, that's
bud.
real
Yeah.
dope, bro. That's dope to hear. So you doing the Pilates and sneaking out and teaching a class and getting back to sweating and all that right in
Yeah.
between, or
Yeah. Like today, I started teaching at 5:30, taught until like 9. Went to my spin cycle class, knocked out about 12 miles, worked out for about 60 minutes, came home. Thought I was gonna do another spin cycle class at 4 before we recorded. Fuck that. I worked out for like an hour, came home, did some writing and practicing, bro. Now we here, man, and I feel like I checked off everything off my list. So it's like the thing with Bill talking about being deliberate, it makes you feel better on a daily basis. You know what
yes,
I'm
You
saying? Like,
know
even
what
if
you
you
got
don't do
accomplished.
anything quote unquote specific, if you have a goal or some plans and write it down and just watch yourself knock it out on a repeated basis, regardless of what it is, you feel more accomplished just on a like inside internally. So
And
that's what I'm
what's
noticing.
what's ill is I'm more productive when I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
So my grades were always better during football season. Always.
Because you had to be tapped in, huh?
Because I didn't have the time to mess around. But spring, you know what I'm saying? When we got free time, I'm like, I get to that paper when I get to that paper.
Right.
Oh, it's midnight, it's due tomorrow at 9. I guess I'll write it now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm always more productive when I got a lot on my plate. I thrive when I got a lot on my plate.
What's up? Check in,
Chief,
Chief.
check in.
Sure, man. Start with saying I appreciate you boys, man. I'm happy things worked out the way they did this week, and we're recording a couple of days later than we normally do. Today was a day, bro. I know y'all brothers had the good positive energy. Today was a day, man. I had this cat at work, bro. This little nigga pissed me off so bad, like to the point where I'm knee tapping and like almost about to angry cry. Like I was, this nigga had me pissed, bro. You know, I was telling Pete, wait till I tell you what he did to start to initiate the phase. Wait till I tell you what he did. So for the past 3 days, we've been trying to get this dude to follow the rules. So today he didn't. He came in with his bonnet on his head. This is what we this is the conversation. This is the conversation I'm having with a young man. He got his bonnet on his head, and I'm like, hey, you know, you got to take that off. You know what I'm saying? And he goes, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. You know, fix your hair, whatever. I go to my office. I'm thinking he did it. He comes out of class. He still got the bonnet on. I go in his class. I'm like, come here, man. He comes out. I'm like, look, man, just go. You know, I told you earlier, go in the bathroom, take it off. He goes in the bathroom again. I go in my office. I ain't even tripping. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I go back out. He still got the bonnet. I'm like, man, come on, man. Let's go. Let's call your people. Like, I'm like, at the end of the day, you got a choice. And you know me, but I'm not raising my voice. I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, bro, you got a choice, man. You can take it off. You can put your bonnet on my desk, go to class, and have a good rest of the day. Or we can call you pop and you can go home. He ignores me for like 15 minutes straight.
Like in your office?
In my office. Doesn't say a word. Just ignores me. I call his dad, and he gets on the phone with his dad. He's like, well, this girl wears it every now and then, and they don't say nothing to her. I'm like, no, actually we do, but it's none of your dad's business that I'm talking to my other student or whatever. So his dad's like, you know, I don't know, man. I'm gonna come in tomorrow and talk to you tomorrow. I'm like, all right, whatever. So dad can't get me to take it off even. So now he's in my office like baiting me about like literally doing shit to like piss me off. And I have nobody else who can like take him because nobody else is in the building. Everybody else is teaching or like went out with the kids somewhere else. So
with
now
the bonnet on his head?
He's in my office with the bonnet.
Oh yeah, okay, go, sorry.
With the bonnet on his head, and he's just like so. I was telling Pete, this is the first thing he did. He's sitting there looking at me like this. Just staring at me doing that. And I just turn around and it's like, he like busts out laughing and then he stops. And then he's like coming, like sitting up in a chair and looking at me and then sitting back and sitting at me and looking back. And like, I'm like
being a troll,
just being a troll. And I'm you know, I'm being cool about it. And I'm like, listen, I got your assignment from your teacher. This is the work you got to do. Oh, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm like, well, you know, if you don't do it, then you're going to end up back in here tomorrow for a full day of in-school suspension. He's like, it's hard. I'm like, okay, do you need some support? Like, do you need some extra help doing it? No, it's just hard. So you don't need help doing it? No, it's just hard. I'm like, well, you know, I'm like, okay, I get it. School is challenging. It's supposed to challenge you. That's why we're here. You know, if it was easy, you wouldn't need school. I'm trying. Now, this is me trying to be patient with the dude. He's like, all right. So he's like, I'll give it a shot. So I put 2 pencils on the desk for him to use. And I turn around and I'm sending emails, doing what I do. I turn around and he doesn't have the papers out anymore. He put them in his hoodie pocket. And I'm like, did you do the work? Yeah. I'm like, that's kind of hard to believe since the pencils I just gave you didn't move. He's like, well, I didn't put the pencils in my pocket. I put work in my pocket. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, you mind if I see the work? Nah, I got to finish it at home. I'm just like, it's a lot more involved. I'm going to spend too much time with it. So long story short, he trolled me for like, I'm not even playing for like 2.5 hours. And I couldn't send him back to class because he got his bonnet on his head. He has his bonnet on his head. And it was just so frustrating, bro. And like, he got under my skin so bad because he was like intentionally trolling me. And I just had to, I kind of, you know, I shook it off, but like I took it home with me today. And it was bad. So then I get a phone call from Mia's school. Her Mel's daughter and Nikki's daughter all get. I go to the school, watch the video. They all dressed in black at the bottom of the stairwell, waiting for Shorty to pull up. Like, what is going on? So, long story short, one of them
A whole lot of gang shit.
Yeah, a whole lot of gang. You gotta respect it because they essentially like cousins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so they riding for each other, which you gotta respect. But I'm just like, brother, you know better. Like, what is you doing, B? You know what I'm saying? So that was just something, but it was in the middle of like my frustration.
That's
so,
how it happens, though. That's
yeah,
how
so but it was, and I'm just like, come on, B. She's like, that I ain't doing nothing. Like, I'm like, you know better though. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be doing like. It was wild, but it was cool because they was really like, nah, like it's not going down. Like,
you appreciate the camaraderie, you know what I'm saying?
For
The
sure.
loyalty, yeah.
But this is me a second. Remember, this is their second time. Remember, she had slammed the little boy for messing with Noah earlier in the year. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh my goodness. So whatever. So she like Debo and shit. I'm like, man, get your goofy ass in the car. Let's go. So that's that. So like I said, I'm happy that we get to talk y'all night because your boy had a rough day, man. Like, and I never take it home with me, P. I haven't taken it home with me in a very long time. And I took it home with me today and it's bothersome. But outside of that, I got my therapy appointment tomorrow, so I'm need to get that out the way because I need to get this shit off my chest. We had a good day with the kids though. Picked the kids up at the school, went to my mom's, hung out, ate some food. The boys was, we had some good laughs, so that was cool. Making some real good connections, man. I got some stuff I got to tell y'all about, but I got some good connections coming up that could be real cool for us included. So I'm happy, man. Outside of the day I had today, all is moving well, man. All is moving real well. But yeah. So let's go ahead and get into it. 21 minutes into the episode. Hey, y'all getting invited into our lives. Y'all better embrace this shit.
This what happened when we go 10 verse 7 days. You know what I'm saying? It's more time for stuff to accumulate.
Yeah, right. But I'm actually thankful, like I said, it went this way because had I had a day I had like today and not been able to just kick it with my homies, it might have been a lot. Like, I'm not even playing. When P was talking, I'm sitting here like still kind of like in my feelings a little bit, feeling my eyes getting heavy. Like, man, chill out, bro. Chill out. Like when we get off this, I'm hanging up. I'm going to sleep.
Do you think it is like what you said? I think it was last week we recorded. You said there's something up with you because you're more irritable or something like that. You said that's still lingering.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be, bro. Because
what did the therapist say about it? Because that's what you said. You said you have your appointment, in a couple of days, whenever it was.
We didn't even. I didn't even really get into that. I was talking about something completely different. We didn't even really get into that. But I'm definitely that's what I was doing when we were talking. I'm making notes about what I want to talk to her about tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So I'm definitely gonna, put some of this on her plate and see how she throws it back at me. So, anyways, Bellhead, you had the treatment for today. What we talking about, bro?
Yeah, my mouse just stopped working, which is weird.
Wait a minute, baby. It's the flash.
Anyway, yeah. So I was thinking about this. I'm back on my I'm back posting more regularly on LinkedIn, and I thought this would be initially I was going to post something on LinkedIn, but then I'm like, you know what? Let me just talk about this with the fellas. But before I even get into the title, just want to remind everybody that our mission is to create a safe space for Black men to openly engage in conversations surrounding their mental health, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We started this podcast almost 5 years ago. Father's Day this year will be 5 years ago, and that's what we do. Like Chief just talked about, he needed this today, and we make it safe and we make it okay to not be okay. So as I was thinking, I don't know if I wrote this. I wrote this either last week. Yeah, it had to be last week. And I was thinking about arrogance versus insecurity, and I'll explain what that means in a second. But I was this not new thing, but for me, I'm doing my best to not generalize. Like, we all do this a lot on this podcast. We'd be like, we got to do a better job at, or, people this, or we make it general. I'm starting to do more because it's most things we talk about are things that we've all dealt with. But when we talk about it, we make it general. So for me, I'm going to make it specific to me because it hits different when you identify it in yourself compared to making it a generalization and not necessarily owning the work you have to do in that respective area. So that's just where I'm at. So I was thinking about how we talk to ourselves, and we all talk to ourselves, but I was like, how much of the conversations we have with ourselves is positive reinforcement versus covering up an insecurity? You know what I mean? So, for example, when I find myself bringing up a topic often, it's more often than not due to an insecurity I have. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm speaking for myself. Not everybody's like this, but for myself. But I'll give you a funny example that we've all seen. It's my man Uncle Elroy, right? From Friday after or from next Friday, right? Craig moves out to Rancho Chocamonga, and first thing Uncle Elroy does is show him around his house, right? Come look at my backyard. I know it's bigger than y'all backyard, right? Then he says, pay $25,000 cash for this, right? And he's like, you pay cash this on cash money. That's why I'm the king. That's why I'm the king around. Meanwhile, Uncle Elroy's house is about to get foreclosed on,
Right.
due to taxes not being paid. You know what I'm saying? So that's a silly example of how we boast and talk to ourselves, right? Because paying for a house in cash is positive, can be considered positive reinforcement. But what that was doing was exposing an insecurity. Like, yeah, I pay cash for this house. But if I finish the sentence, I pay cash for this house, but now I don't have enough to pay the taxes. You see what I'm saying? But on one hand, it's like, oh damn, Uncle Elroy the man. I can convince myself of things like that when, like I said, for me, it's when I find myself talking about things a lot. Because here's what I know. My rich friends don't talk about money. Period.
Straight up.
My rich friends don't talk about money. Like, there's signs, right? Like, there's signs. You know they're not broke, but they don't talk about money. You know, and like, think about parenting. Like, I remember I used to shy away from like people giving me credit for being like a good dad and stuff like that. I'm like, man, look, this is what we have to do. Like, I don't need to boast about that. You know, and same thing we can look at, like, you know, Chief, we've been talking about relationships a lot. And it's like, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is fact. But the people who don't talk about their relationships that much are typically in the healthiest relationships, right? Like, it's like when you see the soft launches and the hard launches and all of this stuff and all this crazy shit. And it's like, yo, why I know all of this about your relationship? Like, I shouldn't know all of this. You know what I mean? But my point in saying that is the people who are secure in things, typically, you don't hear from them as much. So I want to talk about this because I want to know if you can relate, right? Like, if you found yourself, if you may have poked your chest out at times like Uncle Elroy to mask an insecurity, because I know I have, right? So my first question for y'all, and I'll answer it too, is can you think of a time in the past where you were boasting, where your boasting was rooted in insecurity?
Damn.
I don't know if it's like a particular moment of boasting, but to your point about like parenting, because I have Mia so much more than the boys, I struggle with it sometimes. Like, am I really a good of a father? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I have them a ton, but it's like I have her significantly more. You know what I'm saying? And I really, and being a dad is one of my biggest flex. Being a good dad is one of my biggest flex. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, are you really that good of a dad? But it's not like I'm depriving them of anything. I'm splitting time with their mother, which is what I'm supposed to do. You dig what I'm saying? But because I have Mia so much more with practices and all that good stuff, it feels like I don't question myself, but I guess I just feel bad.
So that could be one. Could be. I don't know, right? Because then it begs the question, which we'll never know, but it begs the question, if you had them the equivalent time that you had Mia, would it be as big of a flex? I don't know. Right?
And I guess that's the question. Would it be as big of a flex? But yeah, because I really do enjoy all the time I spend with my kids. So that's not, the thing. I just, like, I really do. I just,
and
I can
I'm not
just
saying
feel, but I
yeah,
can
I'm
just
not
feel
saying
after like the 2 days that we haven't seen each other and I pick them up, like I just, it's kind of like almost certain, not all the time, but sometimes it's kind of like we got to like ease back into it almost. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I don't really like that. And then again, sometimes we'll go like 5 days where I haven't seen my boys, and it's like, damn, like I miss my guys, but because I got to work and I got to take me an hour away, so I don't have time to see the boys, and what I'm saying, like I see them for a little bit and then drop them back off, whatever. So it's just with that, I think that's something that I think it's more internal because I'm not really out here like I'm the greatest dad in the world.
But it's insecurity, no matter what. Like
you're
insecure
for
about
sure.
the
And again,
parenting
I don't think the boys feel that way. I think it's really a me thing.
I'm sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like I really do think it's a me thing. But that's the first thing that came to mind. And then I lost my train of thought, but I definitely had something else I was gonna say. But I'll get back to it. But P, anything come to mind for you?
The most recent insecurity that just shot in my head was Tahir's basketball season just recently ended a couple of weeks ago. His mom's fiance started coaching the team halfway through the season, and it brought up some
This
insecurities in
happened
a
with
way.
football too, though, right?
You said what?
This happened with football a while ago too, didn't it?
Nah.
Wasn't he training to hear something like that, and you felt the way?
It, it
There
Wait,
was
is
there
this
was
the same uncle dude? Uncle
yeah,
so and so? Okay.
yeah. To the listeners, he ain't really this nigga's uncle. When I realized that his mom was dating him, me and Tahir were out, and he called him Uncle Koji, and I was like, Uncle, like, how do you even know this nigga? Like, I've known this nigga since college. Like, Uncle, oh, okay. Um, yeah, no, that was he was just it was
Oh, niggas. Oh, never mind.
it was his involvement. And I didn't find myself boasting, but I noticed over the basketball season I had to step my shit up. Like I started taking them outside more to the park to run drills and to do moves. I had to get on YouTube to learn what the fuck basic
bro.
basketball.
I swear we had the same conversation with him in football too. I swear we
We
did.
no, we probably did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we probably did because he didn't become a coach, but he just started actively pouring into Tip, and it showed me like, yo, okay, you can't get mad. Like, I mean, I've always I had a man who wasn't my biological father in my life. Out the gate for justice, there was multiple niggas in his life. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not a stranger to another man being in my child's life, but I think at this age, what happened was it just made me check myself, and I found myself having to deal with these insecurities. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, am I not doing enough? Am I not? So I think rather than I don't find myself boasting, but I'll do something to counter how I'm feeling because I don't like how I'm feeling. I don't like how this shit makes me feel. Like, what the fuck can I do? You know what I mean? So I started trying to get a little bit more involved in his school. I poured into him more on just one-on-one activities around his interests around basketball and shit like that. We started talking hoop more. I started sending him links and paying attention to what he was looking on the TV and to find out his interests so we can just have a little bit more casual conversation so that I can kind of feel better about our relationship. And then I got to a point, bro, where I just was like, you know what? Just be like stop trying to be so intentional. You know what I'm saying? Like it got to a point where it was like, okay, you're doing all of this because there's another man who's just naturally progressing in his relationship with your son. Like that, and it got to a point where it didn't feel natural for me. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like you got
wasn't
to do extra
organic.
things,
Yeah.
but it just didn't feel natural. It's like, all right, P, you doing all this shit because of another man in a way. And the moment I realized that and just kind of like chilled, so to speak, not as in the amount of activity, but mentally chilled, emotionally chilled, our relationship has been getting so much stronger. He calls me a lot more on his own. He laughs about things when he gets in the car versus getting on his phone and putting his ear pods in, and the ride home is kind of quiet. But yeah, so that was the most recent thing I could think of because it made me analyze like what am I doing or what am I not doing at a father as a father at this stage in his life. But I was really trying to think about if there was a space where I boast, and I don't I can't think of one. I can't think of one where I'm boasting about something. Maybe y'all can, something like I've talked
Hey,
about or been through.
AP, side note, have you thought about or considered taking an opportunity to really, I mean, I know the circumstance, but like invite this dude in?
So that's the thing. His I've known him for a long time. He's a solid dude. You know what I mean? Like real solid dude. I have no problems with him. Tahir has no problems with him, so I got no problems with him at all. The inviting him in thing, I always shake his hand. I always go out of my way to say what's up because he's helping raise my kid. That's first and foremost. So we was already cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't like a friend, but we're connected through my closest people. So we're already cool. Um, but the let him in part is tricky because he's Tahir's mom's fiance, and there's a Tahir's mom co-parents with me, if that makes sense. She co-parents with me. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like we ain't kicking it. We not going out. You know what I'm saying? I sit next to her at basketball games, and ain't necessarily she's seeking me out, and we sit next to each other at games. So the let them in part, I think, will require her as well to kind of happen. And our relationship just isn't like that. I think because of things that have transpired way early, it just we not gonna be there, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So
And I, not to cut you off, I don't say that to say that's what you should do. I
yeah,
say it because I mean, you know my circumstances, and I got some shit to tell y'all. But Bell, check your text messages. Um, but let's look at his face. Watch.
hey nigga, I ain't getting. Did I get a text? I ain't even
I'm about to send
send
it
a
to you
secret
too.
text. Well,
Um,
I can't look at that because I'm using my phone right now. So just tell me.
right, that's why I
You're
didn't
not
send it.
you're not involved, right?
No, 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 no.
Okay. Okay.
So, so I say that P because I have this. I think I've talked to you about it before, but I have this video that I saw on. I don't even know how I stumbled across it, but it's a video. I'm gonna send it to you too. There's a video on YouTube, and it's called "Parents Tell Step Parents What They Think." And watching the video, when I say completely shifted my perspective on the new relationships for my kids' mothers. Like when I say complete, like in my head, I'm having this conversation with the new boyfriend that's kind of like low key intimidating but respectful. You know what I'm saying? Type of
Mhm.
deal. But when I saw this video, I'm like, oh no, this is where it's at. This is what it's supposed to look like. And I don't think I'll ever get there. To your point, I don't think it'll get there, but it's ideally that's what we would like to have happen. I'm gonna send it to you. Take a look at it. It's like it's a little tearjerker too. You know what I'm saying? But it's like it's one of the realest things that I've seen. It's really, really like I don't even think about that whole intimidating, aggressive conversation anymore. Not even a
Yeah, I
chance of
definitely don't
a
think of that.
possibility.
I think for me the thing is just again we just co-parent me and his mom. Like I she cool, but we just co-parent. And as her significant other, he's obviously gonna ride down the road she's riding down. He's gonna
Mm-hmm.
give off the energy and the temperature. I think to an extent with us just knowing each other and being cool, but at the same time let's say some shit she ain't happy about that got to do with me. Who she gonna be talking about it to? She gonna be talking about it to him, and that may kind of shape or affect the interaction. I'm not saying it does or that even happens, but yeah, we're solid. But I think most importantly, man, it was just a wake up call because Sarai used to notice I kept bringing it up, like you said, Bell. She kept being like, "You keep bringing that up. Like, is it bothering you?" And I was like, "Nah." So it wasn't boasting. It just kept coming up.
And when I read the question, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't put boasting. Maybe I should, because that's what I said in my intro. Is like when I bring things up a lot, it's because it's an insecurity.
Yeah,
You know what
it
I'm
was.
saying?
Yeah, it was
But
eating at me, bro.
I do want to say something real quick though, Prentice. It's interesting that, and again, this isn't me suggesting you do anything, but it's interesting that you went to the negative. So what you said was, if you and Tip's mom get into something or have a conversation, like that would affect you and him, or something like that. You just said, right? Like just basically, if you guys have a negative interaction, like it could impact you and his relationship. But the interesting thing is, before you said that, what I was thinking is, well, if they built you and uncle whatever built a strong relationship, could that positively impact you and Tip's mom's relationship?
Mm. Yeah, we're solid. I
No,
don't get it.
and
I
again,
don't get
I'm
into
not
it.
saying,
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
no, I get what you're saying. It's just I think the flip side too is that we didn't kick it prior to him getting in a relationship, and we got close people that we're connected to, right? So like we didn't kick it prior to that. I extend an extra friendly hand because he's helping raise my son. So I would love through the relation. It would be dope. I mean, it's not far fetched for down the road us to be in the same space socially because of how closely we're connected with the same people. It hasn't happened, other than once when I had the conversation with him in the club when I found out, he was dating her. But yeah, it's always a possibility. It's not one that I'm not open to. It's just I'm
yeah,
well aware
it
of the
doesn't sound like you're
dynamics and the
not.
energies. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like it just that ain't now.
no, I get it, Chief. I could think of one example for you, which it's not a bad one or anything like that. Um, which leads me to my next question. Actually, I'll ask the question and then I'll tell you what the example is. Well, actually, let me answer first. So for me, um, when when I'm insecure about something new, like something, a new job title, right? Like a new position, a new milestone, whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. If it's something new or something, maybe better said, something I've never done before. That's what I'll say. When I'm embarking on something I've never done before, that's when my insecurities show up. And one example I remember, like I remember I got into this mode in my last role where I just became very closed off to anything, and my response was always, again, positive affirmations about myself, but I was speaking so positively about myself because I was unwilling to ask for help. So I'm like, I'm gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't never, this ain't the hardest thing I done been through. Like I don't need nobody. It's us for a sec. Like all these types of things, which on the surface could sound like positive affirmations, but it's rooted in insecurity. Do you see what I'm saying?
There's a
So that,
huge difference. There's a
right.
huge difference between that.
So that's what it is for me, like a general
Mm.
statement. Like when I'm doing something new and I feel like, whether this is reality or not, when I feel like nobody's trying to help me, then I turn up. You know what I'm saying? And I turn up and I start I may start we may be out to a drink and you be like, well, how's the new job going? I'm like, it's slow motion, but but you already know how I play. Like I'm gonna get it right. It's like I'll have that type of conversation. But the
Mhm.
reality is, like, I'm insecure. I don't know if I'm gonna get it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it's going to go the way I want it to go. But because of pride, because of whatever, I'm not in the position to ask for the help that I need because there's another insecurity lies in that. Like, okay, if I'm asking for help, this was a struggle of mine for a while. If I'm asking for help, it's telling people the job they put me in, I don't know how to do. Like that was a big one for me. Like if I got to ask you for help, that sends up a smoke signal that I don't know what I'm doing. Therefore, you couldn't have made the best hiring decision because you put somebody in a job that doesn't know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I never asked for help, which I got through that and I learned, but that was one for me. Like that was one for me. So Chief, my question is, go ahead, you want to say something, Prentice?
No, go ahead.
When the question for everybody is, when did you realize this was a challenge of yours? Meaning, you talk more about your insecurities, or if you're talking more about a topic, it could be rooted in insecurity. When did you realize it, and what did you do about it? So the example I have for you, Chief, that is not a negative one. That I thought about as I was writing this. Well, I wrote this about me, but as I'm formulating these questions, the one I thought about with you is whether you realize you did this or not, you would talk about how good you are at your job and that, every time we saw Uwe, you'd be like, man, get me one of these assistant principal jobs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the reality was you technically weren't even qualified yet to do that.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? But, and again, I'm not saying this was or this wasn't, but I just thought about that as an example, as potential insecurity around the job, where it's like, I'm just going to, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but it could be taken this way. I'm just going to, every time I'm around somebody, let them know that I'm way better than this person at this job. I should be in this job, or I can do this job. But what my man did, Prentice, is basically told Chief, like, I'm tired of hearing this. All right. When you going to get your cert?
Yeah.
Right. So now it's like, now you can't talk your shit no more because now somebody challenged you and now you got to do the work. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of this is rooted in. For me, there's times where I talk my shit in lieu of having to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the example I thought about with you, Chief. But you could tell me if I'm wrong or whatever.
No, I can. I don't know if it was like a boast or a flex, but I mean, niggas. Maybe I'm explaining what I deal with a lot, but because I know that, in those moments, I'm like, yo, I can do what my administration does without a drop of a dime. So, I think I'm qualified for the job, but don't have the certifications to get the job. You know what I'm saying?
Which would make you unqualified.
And that is something that obviously, had to get done because it was a realization after we had that conversation. 100%. I'm waiting. And I'm waiting to see Uwe so I can give him a hug and say thank you.
But that's the thing. Like, that's why it's important to have good people around you, different people around you, because, for instance, if you're telling that, and I'm just throwing out titles, but if you're telling that to a paraprofessional or another dean, even, they would potentially gas you up, right? And you could continue telling yourself that, but the reality is you haven't even done enough to be qualified for the job. Mm-hmm. And that's, I'm using that example, but a lot of us are like that. I'm like that in certain cases. So when I was thinking about it, I'm like, that's a good example to use.
No, that's definitely fair for sure.
I don't know how much, like us, everybody who listens to us really thinks about that question, because this is really forcing me to think about insecurities. And I don't know, for me, it's really challenging me to think about like how I view and approach insecurities. And I think like the ones I've thought of in my head, I think my insecurities inspire me because I don't like the feeling of them. So I actively do something to change them. But
I can give you a potential example, Prentice, and like
I wonder if you're gonna say what I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
And you can shoot this down and like, nah, but you read it wrong, and I'm great with that. from the 5 years that I've known you, how I've known you, what I'll say is what I've witnessed a pattern. When you're self-employed, there's ebbs and flows, right? So when you are not as busy, you talk your shit a little bit more. Like you talk your shit a little bit more. And it's evident to me, right? It's evident to me. I'm like, I see. Like that's what I've witnessed with you. And again, dismiss it, whatever, but based on you shaking your head, it sounds like you may agree, but
That is so real. It's searching for something to hold on to while shit ain't
yeah.
moving. I dig back into the vaults with videos, with posting. I may reference something that I have right now going on, or a view or a setting that I feel the need to publicly acknowledge because there's something going on that isn't sitting right with my direction or motion, right? It's like oh man, you are so on spot, and it's almost, it's kind of, I accept it, but it's a little bit embarrassing too, because you don't realize that people recognize or even paying attention that much, or that you're projecting and putting off certain energy that don't really match right. You know what I'm saying? Like I absolutely can say that, yeah, when the motion it's not wasn't feeling like motion, I compensated. And now that I have consistent motion through pouring into Pilates, through teaching and education, through my children, through creating my art at my own pace, not concerned about the public, I don't feel the need to talk about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like I was thinking about my first time going to a courtside NBA game last year versus on Monday when I went. You know, like for a couple of courtside games later, like the way I'm thinking and approaching it, I was happy to be there. I wanted people, and that's not really my thing, but that was a new experience, and people need to know now versus, okay, how can I do this on my own merit
Right.
weekly? You know what I mean? Like, how can this not be one of my closest friends who has done very well for himself just being a dope ass friend and us having a couple's date night? How can I turn this into, yo, I want to be that type of friend for my friends. I want
Mm,
y'all to come out here. When y'all come through, we're gonna go to the Warriors game and we're gonna sit right here and listen to these niggas talk on the bench. Um, but absolutely, but the fact that you pointed that out is really making me think to myself, like, damn, okay, so I'm gonna have to reflect, like, okay, what am I projecting now?
it's a
And
good
go
question.
back.
Yeah.
And go back. I have to go back because I don't want to do that. The fact that you caught that means that there's plenty other people who caught that. I mean, you
Mhm.
know me very well, but damn, it's kind of embarrassing in a way when you think about
So,
it.
but that's so this is the thing though, Prentice and Chief. This wasn't a revelation that I came to willingly. It was out of necessity, right? So as I'm evolving, as I'm growing, I'm like, okay, what are my blind spots, right? What am I doing that's prohibiting me from going to the next level? And I identified, again, this is about me. Let's just be very clear. I identified this in myself. Like I talk about things more when it's an insecurity, but here's why you struggle, Prentice. I'm assuming we don't like to admit that we have insecurities, right? Because where it's like, or we don't like to admit that we don't like when people tell us we have insecurities that we weren't aware of. Like that's another
Mhm.
one. But I can always, that's why we always talk about, like when we're the three of us are in rooms together, like I'm always doing, I mean, you guys are natural performers, but I'm always doing the least amount of talking because I'm reading everything. I'm trying to figure out what's happening with each person before I say anything. Now, I'm not bragging, saying that that's a great quality. I'm saying that's just kind of how I'm wired because people will tell you their insecurities if you just listen to them long enough.
Hmm.
So And like you, I know I tell people my insecurities, but the challenge is a lot of times those insecurities are not going to be pointed out by people that are at your level or below. They're going to be pointed out by people who are where you want to be, and they can see what's prohibiting you or getting in your way because they were once where you were. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's I made a LinkedIn post about our environments. It's just good to get in different environments because people will see different things. You know?
I think one of my other ones that I can think of just in this conversation was when I started really touching some paper last year. When I really started to touch some money last year and consistently a new level, you know what I'm saying? Like a new level that where I can see our lifestyle change. Let's put it that way. Consistent, not like a shopping spree, but I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we're moving a little different. I was far less inclined to showcase my daily, weekly, monthly activity. Far less inclined. I didn't need niggas knowing where the fuck I was. If I have a show, okay, cool. But outside of that, like, nah, I kind of like this feeling versus what you've observed when maybe funds were lower than I preferred them to be, or
Yeah.
I'm not getting booked for no show. So now all of a sudden I'm posting Arsenio Hall performance from 2013 so I can feel better about what I've done because right now I may not feel like I'm quote unquote as successful. You know what I mean? So now after this conversation, I'm really going to be reflecting on like how I deal with insecurities, but most importantly, I want to know now what my insecurities are.
Yeah. And another time it shows up too is when you're not who you once were.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's you were making X amount of dollars at some point and now you're not, and you don't know necessarily where it's coming from again, or you were this amazing athlete and now you're not, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you talk about certain things, you say certain
Yeah.
things, you know what I'm saying?
You live in
Like
that heyday.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like you live in that era because that's when you were at your best. But it's like it's common. Like that's where I see it show up in short.
Yeah.
Chief, what you thinking? You over there taking notes diligently.
Nah, I ain't, bro. I honestly sitting here just taking notes about the things I want to speak to my therapist about tomorrow. I got to figure out where this irritability is coming from. And
You getting irritated right now?
no, but I was literally processing, like just trying to think about some more things that I could talk about to add to this discussion, but it's blended with those irritability conversations. So I'm just listening and going, but I got,
Wait, what do you mean? What's blended? What do you mean?
no, I'm trying to think about like some more instances so I could add to the conversation from my perspective.
I got an instance for you too if you want me to share it.
Please do.
I think I'm laughing already.
No, it's not even anything funny, but
It's even worse. Niggas laughing.
when you had that huge year financially for poetry, like the best year you ever had,
Uh-huh.
you talked about that a lot after you didn't have it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Versus when it was in motion.
yep. Like when it was I'm gonna explain. When it was real time, case in point, I told your mom about it before you did. Case in point. She didn't even know, right? But then after that time had passed, like it was, it was a great year and everything like that. For a good period after that, you would talk about your ability to get to the bag as a poet.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would talk about it. You would be like, it'd be hard. This was your line. It'd be hard pressed to find a poet making more money than me. Or I'm paraphrasing, right? Like at this, like you would talk about it a lot. But it was no longer current. When it was current, nobody even knew. You know what I'm saying? Like you weren't
I'm still that way though too though. Like I don't really,
but what I'm saying is I'm not saying it was an insecurity or it wasn't an insecurity, but for me, it's kind of came off like that, whether it was or it wasn't. But because I know you intimately, people that don't know you intimately, they may not look. They may be inspired. Again, positive affirmation.
Yeah, so that's what I was just thinking about right now. Like when I was talking about it, it was more so like, yo, like you, like you can get to it too. Like it's possible to get to this bag. You know what I'm saying? And then
But
I'm thinking about it now. But but I also have a thing where like I could be in Oakland and performing and tell Pete and then post about it on my way back home and then be like, "Chief, why you ain't say nothing?" Like I do that all the time too. So
I think that's a real tricky one. I think just being able to relate, that's a real tricky one because you're dealing with an art form and a career that is not attached to money at all. If anything, they highlight the fucking starving artist shit, like that's cool, right? Then
there's that.
you start to experience, like if you're lucky, you start to experience getting fucking money, like real life money off of this thing that they think broke people do. And then you got to find the balance between the ego, you know what I'm saying, and knowing like, yo, like how much but it's like that. You remember that video? It's one of my favorite videos ever, but when we got that check, we
I
performed at
swear to
one of
God,
them
I was just
schools
thinking
out
about
there.
that with the hello. All
And
right, then.
but I walked out of the check cashing spot because I was broke as fuck and I had racks in my hand. And
I
I
mean, the
just,
fact that you went to a check cashing spot says a
that was
lot
down
too.
bad, but I didn't have a bank account. I had to go
No,
to
it
a
was
check
it was
cashing.
a legit bank. It was a TD bank. It was a bank.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, it was. It was a TD bank. Yeah, I didn't have a bank account, but I was in check systems and shit.
Oh my God,
You gotta
that just
find
made me
that
cry.
balance. So then it's interesting where there's a space where maybe you need to use this moment to build and boost your confidence and self-esteem. At the same time, it may highlight some insecurities you have at the same time. How do you fucking balance this? You have to practice something. You know what I mean? So then you become overly expressive and then maybe you reel it in, or maybe you have to experience it enough times to know to reel it in. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
No,
tricky just in
that's
general,
definitely
I
yeah.
think, with experiences and beyond just being a poet.
Oh, it goes well beyond that because
Yeah.
what happens is, in some cases, I gotta. He's. I got a family member. I'll just say that he. Sometimes what I'll say is people speak about the heyday, whatever it was, in lieu of doing the work to get back there.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Living in
I
the
got a
That's
memory.
what I'm saying.
I got a family member who at their peak was self-made. You know what I'm saying? And there was a period, and they're out of it now, but there was a period where they would just complain about what was not happening for them
Mm.
compared to doing what they did to get where they got before. And I had to have that conversation with them. But again, it's hard for somebody peer to peer to have that conversation. You need somebody that's where you're trying to go. And there was a there was a period where they were the pace car. Everybody was chasing them, trying to get to where they. So when we would speak, he could see my issues off top. You know, I'm off top. Like I remember, I'll never forget this shit. I remember coming to him. I'm like, Cuddy, things are going so well. I told him like I'm making X amount of money. And well, I said things are going so well, but I feel like something's about to happen. And he's like, "What you mean?" I was like, "I don't know. I just feel like something's about to happen." He's like, "Why you say that?" And I told him, I'm like, "Well, I'm making this." He's like, "Oh, that's why you feel like that?" He's like, "Nah, man." Like, he's like, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without giving up too much information, but what I was doing, um, what I was making, basically what he wanted to understand was I feeling that way because I was going to another financial tier, or was I feeling that way because I saw signs of something about to happen? And I'm like, no, it's just because things are going well and I'm making X amount of dollars. He was like, oh, that's why you feel like that. I was like, yeah. He's like, nah. Like, when you start doing that a day, then I can understand. But right now, like, nah, like you good. This is part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is part of it. He's like, what you're making right now, these feelings that are coming with this is a part of it. When you start making this every day, then there may be something more than the growth, right? It may be something, some external factors happening when you start doing that. And I'm like, damn. So that means you making this a day. You know what I'm saying? like that, like that's where my mind went. And I'm like, because he couldn't speak with that much confidence if he didn't,
hadn't experienced it.
you know what I'm saying? And then if I would have told somebody else that wasn't making that, they would have looked at me like, oh shit, man, you made it. You know what I'm saying? But I needed somebody else's perspective to help me understand, like, no. This is what happens here. You got to get past this. Then you can start experiencing real problems. These aren't real problems right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I say that to say sometimes that positive self-talk is in lieu of the work. But given the audience, this is a perfect example. Given that audience, you may get encouraged to keep talking your shit. But you say those same words in front of a ooey who's been where you want to go and past that. They're like, nah, you're doing too much talking.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing too much talking. Like, why are we still talking about this?
Which kind of speaks to my point of you have to test the frequency that you on in certain spaces to know where to go next. Like, you get one type of response from them people over there telling you do it. You give out that same energy in this space, and they're like, ha, ha, they laughing at you. Like, I'm not gonna do
Nah,
that.
yo, like, so I was talking to one of my former, I was coaching football with my man in a town over, and one of the parents is a multimillionaire, and we got to kicking it and talking and whatever. And I'm telling him how I need to get up some bread to get my house fixed or whatever. And I'm like, how would you make your a quick $20,000? And he's like, and it's like he's really like struggling. And then he's like, well, I would, do this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, yeah, well, how do I make $1 million? And he was like, oh, that's an easier question.
Right.
He was like, oh, that's an easier question. You know what I mean? I would blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, and it was just, you know what I mean? Like 20 grand is hard, but like $1 million, like we can do that. That's easy. And I'm just like, that's wild. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely like opened up my perspective. So I've been chopping it up with him a couple times a week now, just helping me create a master plan. So it's been pretty dope, man. It's been pretty dope. But yeah, when you get to that, those folks in that next level, it's just their conversations are different for sure.
Very different.
I want to say two quick things. So, Prentice, going back to what you said, and I'll get to what you just said, Chief. You said saying something in one room, checking the temperature, and saying the same thing in another room, right? Like in terms of the environment and the frequency. You just spoke about that. Mm-hmm. Here's the issue with that. The issue lies in your insecurity, our insecurity. If you're too insecure to hear the truth, you're going to stay in that room where they make you feel comfortable. Mm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like you're going to stay in that room.
Yeah. Once you get it, then you're like, oh, I don't like that. You're going, yeah, I get what you're saying.
But you may not even go look for nothing else because you can convince yourself, I'm doing everything I can, and it still ain't working for me. If you're talking to somebody that's not where you want to be.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Where if you talk to somebody else, it's like, why are you bullshitting? Because they can see through it. Because they've been where you are. Right?
Yeah, it leads to a bigger shit. We could talk about this forever, but I think maybe it's possible that we kind of keep certain circles because they feed our insecurities.
Bingo.
You know, like
bingo.
It's easier to stay here, man, and don't even be conscious of it. They can be cool ass people. You know what I mean? You don't mean it's a wrong
and mean
circle
no harm.
Circle. Yeah,
mean no harm, right?
Yeah,
no,
but they
no
just
malintent.
They feed that insecurity. And you mentioned, I know you're gonna go to Chief, but you had mentioned something earlier about like talking about an insecurity in one person and not being able to hear it. I think sometimes when you do that, the problem is that living in the heyday and then talking to somebody who reminds you about like your insecurity can be a reminder of the work you have to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
depending where you are will determine how you receive that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's again, some people are okay just keeping things status quo. And there's nothing wrong with that. Where I take issue is when you tell me you want to do something and then you keep doing the same shit. Like I tell all my mentees, I'm like, look, I don't know everything, but I know how to get you to where I am. I'm going to tell you some things that are going to be uncomfortable. And whether you do them or not, that's on you. But whether you do them or not will determine how much I'm going to help you. You see what I'm saying?
That's
Because
fair.
like I can see it. Like I can see what the gaps. You can't see it because you're in it. We can't see it because we're in it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I always talk about mentorship is so important. Like it's so important because we don't know everything. We do not know everything. We do not know everything. So, but what I was about to say to you, Chief, like that's I'm listening to part of my spiritual journey is I listened to Marvin Golden. Is that his last name? Marvin Golden? Anyway, Marvin Golden. So he's a Myron Golden. He's a coach, business coach. But most of his practices are rooted in the word, right? Again, part of my spiritual journey. So he said something the other day that I listened to, and I'm like, holy shit. He said, I'm not doing he said it's easier to make a lot in a little bit of time than a little bit in a lot of time. He was like, it's easier for me to make $1 million this month. So I don't entertain things that only pay me $50,000 this week. Cause it's easier for me to make $1 million to then, as opposed to getting caught up in all these little things to make 50,000, 40,000, 20,000, 30,000. Because like a shorter amount of time. So, and that shit like hit me like a ton of bricks because I think about things that we do for people to put them in a good situation, things that we ask people to do for us to put us in a better situation. But it's like, that was the example you just gave. He said, you said 20,000. He's like, look, man, I don't know what to tell you.
Just stressed
$1
them
million?
out.
Oh, yeah. It's because it's a lot easier to make a lot of money in a little bit of time. Now that may go over a lot of people's heads, and we may not. Some people may not be ready to hear that. But the reality is, if you can put a focused plan together, it's your plans are designed to make more, right? Like making 60,000, you want to make 70,000. That doesn't require a lot of work. But if you put an intentional plan together to change your life, it's geared to make a lot of money in a short period of time, or in a shorter time frame. I'll say that. So that's why I'm not surprised at his answer. You know what I mean? But the other thing too, the insecurity about getting a coach or getting a mentor is they're gonna call you on your shit. They're gonna call you on your shit. And if you are just talking because it makes you feel comfortable in your insecurity, they're not the right place for you. Because they're gonna say, well, why haven't you done it yet?
How do you identify? I think it's because again, I'm really gonna have to think about what my insecurities are right now on like a real deep cellular level. How do you identify to everybody listening? Like, how do you identify insecurities? Like, not everybody's as honest, and sometimes you don't know. Like, I really got to think about this shit. Like, okay, what are my legit insecurities right now? Like, not from a space of saying I don't have any. I know I do, but like,
But I'm also not saying you have a ton. I'm not saying that either.
right. I
You know
get,
what I'm
but
saying?
for the average person listening, you know what I'm
We
saying?
all have them. There's no two ways about that.
How do you identify them though? If you're not emotionally equipped to accept it, can you identify an insecurity without being able to accept the fact that it is one?
I
What do
Get
you
my
think
question?
I think a lot of them get exposed through experience, to get exposed through difficult conversations, or perhaps being called out as we so labeled it. or embarrassment. I guess it ties in with experience. But I think those are like major factors. Like you learned about those things when you're called out about those things, and I like.
But then it begs the question: are you open to new experience?
Right. And is it possible to have those experiences without it feeling unhealthy? Because then you got to go through the fucking motions of somebody checking you and the stress of
See,
accepting that shit. And is it possible? Is there a healthy way to identify insecurities without having to go through a lot of the shit that comes with it when you're not ready to necessarily hear it or accept it?
I think if you're not ready to hear it, you don't even identify it as an insecurity. It becomes a triggering point for an argument or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. Yeah,
If
that's
you
real.
go into defense mode,
then it's an insecurity.
right? But you will never label it that.
I'm making a blanket statement though. If you go into defense mode about a question, it's an insecurity.
Mm.
If somebody asks you a question and you get defensive, you're insecure about it. That's a blanket statement.
That's a good kind of like principle to
dealing with some
follow.
sincere trauma too. Trauma can do that to you too.
Yeah, but it's an insecurity because I would argue that you haven't dealt with that trauma.
Mm-hmm. Very valid. I think that's a principle
Yeah,
I'm about to fucking move with.
Does not dealing with the trauma make it an insecurity though?
Yeah, because you got to run around with it.
Say that again.
I said because you're not addressing it. Uncle Elroy. Uncle Elroy talked about everything about that house, but the fact that it's foreclosure.
Yeah, but that goes back to the boastful. So I'm just speaking in general, like a general trauma that you haven't necessarily dealt with doesn't always correlate to insecurity. I don't think though. You know what I'm saying?
9 times out of 10.
Why doesn't it?
9 times out of 10, it got to. Got to, bud. Like think about any traumatic experience you have right now that you thinking about tackling, don't want to tackle, and see if that shit don't come up and fuck with you on an insecure level. Absolutely. It's something you want that exists in your life that you're not happy about that makes you feel away. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain conversations that are touchy because that topic it comes with a little bit of insecurity in one way or another. You know what I'm saying? Like I got some insecurity around talking about justice. You know, I don't really talk about them on the podcast anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like I got some insecurity around that. I feel how I feel, but yeah, when you
Because
got
it's something
shit
that's not resolved.
yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, who wants shit in their life that's not resolved?
Like think go ahead, Chief.
Is that also something that that's one of them things where I don't think you can necessarily deal with that entirely on your own. There has to be some resolve with him.
Let's be clear. Most of our insecurities and challenges we're not going to be able to deal with on our own.
Whether that's needing a therapist or the other individual it involves.
Or a spouse or someone.
Yup.
Right? Like or a mentor. Again, you can't see the picture a lot of times when you're in the frame.
Yeah, that's so fucking true. So then again, you got to be willing to fucking talk about it. This is a tricky one, bro.
Yeah, but,
I like this
even if
combo.
you're not gonna so for those who aren't necessarily talking about it, I guess when talked to about it, you have to receive it. But that's the hard part.
It's only hard if you're not willing to accept that you have an insecurity. So just pause for 1 second. I started off by saying, if you're asked a question and you're triggered by it, it's probably insecurity, right? Then you said, unless we're talking about trauma. And then I was like, well, if it's trauma that's unresolved, it potentially is insecurity. And then we went in the back and forth. That would constitute as an insecurity, right? Because you were triggered by the question. So we went back and forth about it.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
I just don't think that all trauma can correlates to
unresolved trauma. I'll say that's what I'll say.
And we got to think about how we identify insecurity. Insecurity don't always make you feel like, you know what I'm saying, like ashamed. It could be some shit that upsets you or makes you. Damn, this is. Ooh.
Or like, let's look at trauma like a bad car accident. Like a bad car accident, right? You were in a bad car accident. Now, when you walk down the street, anytime you see a car drive by you, it triggers you, right? Like it makes it. There's some emotion that's evoked.
Mm-hmm.
There's insecurity around getting hit by a car again. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm
I hear you. I just maybe I'm struggling with the word insecurity about it. That's
I
all.
was just about to
we
say you have to.
all. This is the
So the only thing that's coming to mind for
message.
me is when I think of trauma. Like, so the thing that came to mind for me was when when Big Baby got into an accident and I went into the emergency room. My knees got weak and I literally collapsed and had to leave. And that's PTSD from my brother. Like, people,
That's PTSD,
when I go into the emergency room and I hear like the hospital, like the beeps of the machines and whatnot, like I in my mind, I'm walking down that hallway to go see my brother.
So one could say a hospital emergency room sparks insecurity. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not
It's just,
said another way, you're not secure walking into an emergency room.
Perfect.
yeah, maybe it's the word.
Yeah, there ain't no way around
But
now.
this is what I'm
I would
saying.
probably say comfortable.
No,
Secure.
so listen, no, stop. Everybody stop. This is the problem. This is why we struggle. We're not even willing to admit that we can be insecure about something because of the negative connotation attached to the word.
And we've narrowed the definition. We've narrowed the scope of the definition. Like, this
Yeah,
conversation alone is opening my eyes to what that shit really means. I associate insecurity with weakness. Off top.
exactly.
Off
We all do.
top. Off. All I've talked about right now, when I mentioned any of my insecurity, had to do with me looking weak or feeling weak in
And
front of
Chief,
my own reflection or to somebody else.
and
I
you,
associate it with
Chief,
weakness.
just described a physical weakness. Your
Yep.
legs collapsed.
And
It
yet
don't get
we
more
don't
insecure
want
than
it
that.
to be an insecurity. We're trying to find a different word. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
I'm not. I understand it, but I'm just I'm trying to find a better word that I like from my legs collapsing from literally a physiological response. It's hard for me to use insecurity as the reasoning behind it.
No, you
Based
don't
on
have
your
to.
definition of the word, though,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like,
and it's
based
not even.
on what you perceive it to be, it's hard to use it.
It's the feeling you have attached to that word.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reality is you're not secure walking into an emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
And who the fuck? What father wants to admit that when they step into their son's basketball game and see his mom's fiance on the other side coaching them, that you may not be doing all you can or some shit? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be like, fuck, I feel insecure up in here, so I cheer louder. I find some other shit, and I don't want to admit that. I don't like that. I don't even like the fact that I got this fucking feeling, because there's no problem, there's no issue, yet I feel inadequate.
Well, first and foremost, Prentice, thank you for sharing that, brother, because I know that took a lot to say. You know what I'm saying?
Uh, you welcome. not not really. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like
But
it's natural. You know what I'm saying? And
it's natural. It's natural in that instance, maybe because that's a more comfortable conversation. But there's other areas that we all struggle with vocalizing those insecurities because of everything that Chief is expressing right now. It's like we all have them. Like no one's void of insecurities, bro. Like
yeah,
we're
I think we
not.
got to redefine that shit, man. I think this is a very good
Be-
lesson to
because
check
the
your
reality
definition.
is this: if we don't define it, it will define us.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And if it's defining us, that means we're not in control,
Hmm.
and we
It's
can't.
like it's like when your significant other makes more money than you, and you support everything they fucking doing, yet in the back of your mind you are telling yourself, I need to step my shit up, and you
Mm-hmm.
beating yourself. I've been there when Sarai's making stupid money, and I was like, God damn, like, I ain't really doing shit. So now I find myself cleaning more and looking for more opportunities to do. That's in fucking insecurity. But for me, it's not in the moment. It's me pushing myself or trying to motivate myself. But that's just an insecurity.
So that's a full circle moment, because what you just talked about was a societal insecurity that was placed on you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of your traditional gender roles.
Right.
Like, you're supposed to make more money because you're the man. So that's a societal induced insecurity. You know what I'm saying? Like, who the fuck cares who makes more money? Like, I say all the time,
Right.
man, I can't wait to the day that Lorraine makes more money than me,
Right.
because I'm gonna have that same exact feeling. I'm gonna step up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's only gonna help us. So yeah, man, I think I struggle with identifying my insecurities, because I don't want to feel weak. I don't want to feel like, again, back to the job example. I don't want to feel like I let somebody down and they made a wrong decision based on me struggling. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
say anything, and I'm just like, I'll get through this shit myself. But until we can identify them, we can't move past them. And some of them maybe aren't meant to move past, right? Some are maybe meant to just learn how to deal with. But the ones that are holding you back, right? Those have to be addressed. And in
Very.
order for you to even identify them, in a lot of cases, you have to get around different circles, different environments to help bring them out. Because if you stay in your same environment, your same circle, ignorance is bliss, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's fair. This is probably one of our longest episodes we've had in a while, fellas. We had an hour and 26 minutes in this joint. But per usual, good conversation, bunch of revelations. Hopefully, we helping out the people who are listening. You dig?
I mean, but that's
Um,
that's an example right there. Hopefully, we helping ourselves, right?
oh, for
Like,
sure. I don't never doubt
no,
that.
but just real quick, this is why I started the way I started, where I say sometimes I generalize, and I'm like, we, they, us. No, like, hopefully this helped you. Hopefully this helped me. You know what I mean? Like, let's start with us. Like, hopefully this will show up different in my life. Like, let's start speaking like that, because then it personalizes it. Whereas when we speak in general, it doesn't make it about the person that really matters, which is us at the end of the day, which is you at the end of the day. So I just want to bring that up, because that's a case in point why I'm working on making it about what I can do compared to what we can do. And I'm work in progress, but that's just an example.
For sure. P, you want to start first with the final thought?
Yeah, make sure you're not to everybody, but I'm just thinking about the fellas listening. Make sure you're not around a bunch of insecure niggas. And I think and what I mean, that can look a bunch of different ways.
Mhm.
You could be hanging around a group of dudes who all y'all do is talk money and what you have. You can be around a group of dudes who are just focused on knocking down women. You can be around people who are just talking about a general subject but don't go any further than that. So make sure your comfort zone, your comfort village is not rooted in insecurity.
Mm, that's deep.
That's what I'd say. That's what I say.
I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. I think it's important to remember that un like help your people. Like real true friends hold each other accountable and have difficult conversations. And uncomfortable conversations always, regardless of what the circumstances are, always lead to growth, no matter how you want to look at it. So I think stepping up and being bold enough to have them uncomfortable conversations is just a key factor in growth on all parts involved. So don't be afraid to point out what you believe might be some insecurities of some people and acknowledge what you have heard can show up as an insecurity in yourself.
I'm gonna take the complete opposite approach. What my final thought is, my final thought is put your mask on first, right? Like, I forget the saying. I always screw it up, but something like rising tide raises all boats or something like that. So my
Rising
point,
tides. Go ahead.
yeah. So my point is, start with you, right? Before you start having these conversations with people, start with you. Check yourself. Like before you start holding other people accountable, start with yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable to your goals. Hold yourself accountable to your schedule. Hold yourself accountable to your dreams. Hold yourself accountable to the big thing that you want and not stopping when you make progress. And even though that progress is more than you've ever done, don't stop there, right? Like keep striving and keep trying to get better. ABL, always be learning. Like always be learning. Always try to figure out what you can do to be better. And like better does not have to equate to financially. Let me just be very clear. Just better, a better human, like whatever that looks like for you. But just start with you. Like don't go out there pontificating about people's issues, right? Because you know what they say when you point one finger in the mirror, is 3 pointing back at you, right? So like or when you point one finger at one person, is 3 pointing back at you. So start with yourself. Like I promise you, if you level up, when you level up, your circle will change. It will. There's no way that you can move up and stay stagnant. It's not possible. So if you start with you, everything around you will change. But it has to start with you. That's my final thought.
All right, y'all. That has been another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. We have a voice line. Hit us up. Let us know your questions, comments, complaints, or concerns. You're struggling with something, just need to vent, want to get it off your chest. Most of us, we normally try to answer. If not, we get back to you as soon as we can. Our number is 860-410-6160. 860-410-6160. You can hit us up on all social media outlets at All Black Men Need Therapy. Email us at allblackmenneedtherapy@gmail.com. If you want to hit us up individually, Chief, Prentice, or Bell at abmnt.com. That has been another episode per usual, y'all. Do us all a favor and hug a black man today.
Do that shit.
And tomorrow.
Do it.
We out, y'all.
Peace.